Welcome to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. On today's video, I will be comparing the Seiko Alpinist against the Sugess chronograph. Please take this opportunity to hit the subscription button. Also remember to hit the notifications bell so you are up to date with all the latest reviews. Also check out the links in my description as I'll post links for the watches on AliExpress. Also check out the link to my eBay store. Please enjoy the review and thank you for watching. Welcome to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Now originally this video was going to be something very different. I just wanted to actually just showcase the Sugess in the beige dial. If you're familiar with my channel, I recently reviewed the Sugess ST1901 chronograph. Now I mentioned in that video they do come in two color options. The one I reviewed was the one with the white shimmer dial, and they also do a beige dial with some lovely gilt indices. And I mentioned I have ordered that, so I just wanted to literally just give you a quick recap on the watch, how I'm getting on with the watch, and just showcase the different dial available. As you noticed, as you can see, I've also put a different color strap on it as well. But then when I received it, I did love it. I didn't like it on the black leather strap that it comes with. I think they don't match as well as they can. It reminded me of something else, which is what led me to this video, and it was purely the gilt indices, the numbers, that reminded me of my Seiko Alpinist. So I put them side by side and I thought, you know what, this could be quite an interesting comparison. I think they both share a few things between them. So I had my Seiko Alpinist. I had it on a stainless steel bracelet, and it didn't really fit this watch, to be honest. So I took that off, put it on one of my vintage waxy leather straps, and instantly I saw, you know what, they do look quite similar. And it could be a decent video for a review. So I don't know, let's see how it goes. Hopefully you guys appreciate it, and it does turn out to be a fairly decent comparison. Before we go into the comparison, I just want to give a quick once over to both watches. I will also apologize, you might catch just a bit of glare. As you can see, that ring light, I've got a new light just to ensure I get some decent exposure on the camera, but as you can see, it is becoming a bit of a hindrance. I'm getting a slight bit of glare, so apologies for that. This is the Seiko Alpinist, one of my favorite watches. It's so adaptable, so versatile. You know, you can make it look really classy, putting it on a leather strap, put it on the stainless steel, looks like an awesome field / tool watch. Of course, that green and gilt combination just gives it that vintage old school look. It just reminds you of like smoking jackets, snooker tables, marble. That's what it reminds me of anyway. You know, this super classy look to it. And I think this has a very, very similar appeal now that I've got them both on leather straps. I'd say strap wise, on some watches it isn't very important at all, but on others it can make or break a watch, literally. So with this, I think on the Sugess with this beige dial, I could have gone a shade darker, something closer to the one on my right, but this is the one that I could find. And I got this from eBay a while ago. It's this crocodile effect leather strap. And I think the Sugess with the white dial looked fine, absolutely fine on the stock leather strap that is provided with the contrast stitching, but it didn't fit the beige at all. So I went with this, and I think it has transformed the watch. Now, as I mentioned, this was sort of an accidental video, but as I started preparing for the video, you know, doing my measurements, making some comparison notes, I found these watches, they're a lot more similar than I initially thought. So let's start off with dimensions and see what we get from both. The Sugess on the left hand side, slightly smaller. The diameter is 38 millimeters, and I think that is a good point for this watch. Definite buying point. There's a demand for smaller watches, and the fact that it's also a utilities watch as well, and for it to come in at 38 mil, it's a plus point for the watch, absolutely. Now we compare that to the Seiko, which comes in a diameter of 39.5, so just under 40 mil, ignoring obviously the crown. Again, not a huge watch, just slightly bigger, you know, 1.5 mil. And I've mentioned this previously, we're talking about very small measurements. What's a mil, what's 1.5 mil? On anything else you probably wouldn't notice it, but when it comes to watch diameters, case sizes, it does make quite a substantial difference. Lug to lug between them both, again, there isn't much. The Sugess has a 47.5 lug to lug. Compared to the Seiko, you've got a 46.3. So literally, you know, equates to just between a millimeter. Now, thickness, case thickness, let's have a quick look. The Seiko Alpinist comes in at roughly 12.7. Now the Sugess comes in at 13.5. Again, very, very tight tolerances. You've got a domed sapphire crystal on the Sugess, which gives it that extra slight bit of thickness. And the Alpinist, unlike most of the Seikos that are coming out, or that were out around this time, it does come with a sapphire crystal, which is a flat sapphire crystal. So as you can probably see where I'm getting at and why this watch is actually a great comparison for the Sugess. Size wise, you literally have 1.5 mil between them on every angle. I do wish, however, the Sugess, the lugs, I feel they're a bit too long for the actual size of the case, the diameter. So if they were around the 45-46 mark, it would have been perfect. But it's not a deal breaker at all. It still fits really well on the wrist. Okay, secondly, let's look at the movements. Even there on the movement side, there isn't much at all. So the Sugess, it has the Sugess ST1901 movement, which is a 22 joule movement, which beats at 21,600 beats per hour or vibrations per hour, which translates into a 6 ticks a second sweep, which also includes this chronograph hand. The estimated power reserve is 40 hours, and the accuracy from manufacturer for this movement is -10 and plus 40 seconds a day. Now let's compare that to the Seiko Alpinist. This Alpinist runs a Seiko 6R15D movement. The D being a variant. The 6R15 of course went through A, B, C and D, and each up level or each suffix change was an improvement, because this movement had a few issues, I believe. Now what does this movement give us? So it's a 23 joule movement, 1 joule away from the Sugess, and you get it's the same beat rate, 21,600. So you still get that 6 ticks a second sweep. And the power reserve is rated at 50 hours, although in reality the power reserves are just under what the manufacturer actually states. And the accuracy is rated from -15 to plus 25 seconds. So it's slightly tighter than the Sugess. But in reality, I think, depending on how long you've had the watch, you know, just different factors, temperature, wearing, even if the watches are slightly magnetized, between them, I think you'd find they are very similar. And it surprised me, you know, how as I said, while I was doing just a quick bit of homework, I do quick preparation of how similar they actually are, and you know what they share in common. Obviously, both are also tool slash utility watches. You know, the Seiko Alpinist is a mountaineering field watch. Comes with a inner bezel, which should help you find your way around. I personally don't know how to use this. I've looked at it. It's not that difficult, but you know, it's the functionality that's there. And with the Sugess, you've got the tachymeter, so you can time all sorts. Visually, as I mentioned, visually, because of the gilt on this dial, this actually gave me the idea to compare it to the Alpinist, which also has gilt around the hands, indices, and the numerals. So personally, I prefer the look of the Alpinist. I think it just looks that much better. You've got the cathedral style hands, and you've got thicker lettering, so you see more of that shine on there. But equally as good is the Sugess. Both are really beautiful watches, you have to admit. Further to the design, both actually have very similar loom styles. So you've got the small dots around the dial, and likewise on the Seiko. Of course, the Seiko is going to come out on top. You've got thicker hands where more loom can be applied. On the Sugess, it's not so bright. It is barely there, but you know it's present. You've got thin pencil style hands there, so obviously you're not going to see that loom. Let's just have a look, see how they compare. So as you can see, the Seiko definitely wins this one. The hands are a lot brighter, and the Sugess, just due to the fact that the loom is just so thinly applied across the dots and the hands, is barely visible. But that is not the point, I believe, of the watch. So as predicted, the Seiko is a lot brighter, but again, the dots on the dial, they're not very big, and it's not going to be super bright. So there you have it. Very unexpected video, as I mentioned in the video. I had no idea that this is what I'd be doing when I set out to make this vid. Pleasantly surprised between both that I could compare them, and I think having compared them, they do share a lot of similarities. And you know, especially now with the Alpinist just moving on into this crazy price that is sitting at, the Saab 33, 35, Saab 17s, you know, they're sitting at the £500 mark, pretty much solid on the second-hand market, which is very close to the new Alpinist as well. So it's just getting kind of strange, really. Yes, I know what this watch is, but I don't think it's worth that much. But then you've got an alternative here, the Sugess. AliExpress, you know the prices, they do fluctuate up and down, so I don't like to mention exactly what the prices are, but they're around the 150 to 180, I think, pound mark. So I think great alternative. Of course, it's not an Alpinist, but you know, the comparison should speak for itself. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.